evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Artfluence Festival hosted by the Centre for Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. My name is Lliane Loots, and I'm the Artistic Director of the JOMBA Contemporary Dance Festival. I'm delighted as part of Artfluence to be bringing you dance offering in this amazing new festival that we're running. And tonight's program looks at the confluence between activist, artist within the kind of realm of integrated arts or disability, and focusing on this notion of inclusivity and disability rights is one of the key issues that are facing us as artists in terms of our own inclusivity and the way that we think about the art that we make. It is my huge privilege to be hosting three incredible artists: Nadine Mckenzie from Cape Town, South Africa, and Mute Dance Company; Ondiege Matthew from Nairobi in Kenya from his company Dance into Space; and Adriaan Luteijn, a choreographer from Arnhem in the Netherlands in a company called Introdams. We're going to be watching small films and works that they've made that are, I think, the most incredible and most beautiful pieces of artwork. And then I'd like to invite you to stay with us after the viewing of the work to a magnificent discussion panel with the three artists, where we start to unpick some of the confluences around human rights, disability practice, and integrated arts. Enjoy.
My name is Ondiege, also known as Ondiege Matthew. I am a dancer, a choreographer, and the artistic director of the company Dance into Space. In our work at Dance into Space, we work within two main areas. There's one mainstream area where we develop choreographic creations for entertainment and for festival platforms. And there's also the community area where we work in unconventional spaces, developing performances that process information around thematic concerns within the community. And therefore we work as half community dance company, half mainstream contemporary dance company. My work as a choreographer and director of a mixed ability group started around 15 years ago, and slowly the work has taken the direction of processing messages and information around the issues that concern persons with disability. And especially at the community level, it has been seen as a way of giving the marginalized groups of persons with disability a chance, a way of including them in efforts of development, and more so to give them the visibility and an opportunity to speak about their rights as persons who have been marginalized. And therefore, we have created a performance called Agwata, which is part of the works we've been doing at the community level, creating and processing information that concern persons with disability through performance. Agwata is a calabash, and ritualistically it demonstrates soft violence meted upon persons with disability by a society that is oblivious of its very discriminating actions that are often promoted by cultural myths and misconceptions. So what Agwata as a performance proposes is the demystification, the dispelling of the myths surrounding disability by spilling the concoction of the calabash in order to create an enabling environment where everyone has a right and everybody's rights are respected.
Mama nyarga kinyi ya nyango nyari joimbo edundo yeirom na nyango nyari joimbo yopirom naga ya nyango nyari joimbo yangirom naga ya nyango nyari jogoe arundirom naga ya nyango nyari jogoe yangirom naga ya nyango nyari joimbo atutirom naga ya nyango nyari jogoe kalirom na ya nyango nyari jogoe Mamirom na yawanyango nyari jogoi. Pigati no ni yawanyango nyari jogoi. Mama nyagirosa ni yawanyango nyari jogoi. Pigati yo ni yawanyango nyari jogoi. Utirom na ni yawanyango nyari jogoi. Mamirom na nyapiga wino donje dala. Mamirom na ni yawanyango nyari jogoi. Walirom na ni yawanyango nyari joimbo. Mamirom na ni yawanyango nyari joimbo. Walirom na ni yawanyango nyari joimbo. Tirom na ni yawanyango nyari joimbo.
En ber mane mangat monyuolo nyathi ma wuoyi nigo. Kose en ber mane ma nyathi ma nyako monyuol nigo. Kara en ber mane kuom janyuol monyuolo nyathi man kod ng'ol nigo. Koso en ber mane ma nyathi monyuol kong'ol to nigo. Oyo nyithindo gi duto giromre. Nikech ang'o? Nikech Nyasaye nomi ema nene ochiwogi kendo omiyogi gibedo jok ma opogore opogore. Gin kod chip ma gweth mopogore opogore ma Nyasaye omiyogi. Ya. Ondiek kod nyaimbo. Ogwal bade cheko nyadunda goge lach. Aneno ka udhi maber. Wang'ni tabo mana dwaro ni mondo ikendi nyako ma jaber. Idag go inyuol go nyithindo mabeyo, nyithindo motegno manyalo timo sport maber. Nyadundo okeo imbo, ita dwaro ni som. Rajowa nyara nyako ma jaber. Ita dwaro ni mondo isom ichop nyaka university. Chop nyaka university kucha. Bang'e tibo yudo tich maber. Kamano, temura temo. Rajo waratego bade dongo. In muchi ng'eny. To kara en ang'o momiyo ka ng'ato nyuolo nyathi mong'ol to dwa ni mondo oike kapod ongima, kata okawe onyume echo kapod ongima. Bade dongo to nyalo go dhano 13 piny. En otek bende wang'ne adwa ni mondo bi ochung' kata president okony jopiny. Nyara ito isoma ibiro tiyo kata ofis president. Ragwel bende aneno kabiro.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adriaan Luteijn. I'm working as a choreographer for Introdams, a modern ballet company in the Netherlands, in Europe. For more than 20 years, I choreograph for a special project which is called the Extraordinary Encounters of Introdams. In this project, I mix dancers of the company, the ballet dancers of the company, with special guests from very different worlds. In the following making of movie, you meet 3 dancers, 2 of them working for the company, Mathieu and Giuseppe, meeting a guest, Edwin, who comes from a different world. In fact, he's filmmaker, but I challenged him to work with me in this choreography. Together we created a piece, Circular, which you will see afterwards. I hope you enjoy it.
All concentrate on the center point of Edwin. Oké, komt ie. Zie je hard werken, hè? Is het te moeilijk, or is it just hard working? Oké, nou dan laat ik hem zitten.
I was a bit scared to not be able to connect with Edwin or not being able to communicate or even to express myself. I expected to have quite a lot of limit in a way, but he never made a limit, Edwin.
He told us the first day that he's allowed to stand up from the chair for half an hour a day. And we were having rehearsal of 2 hours in a row. And we were like, you are doing it.
Try to see what is detailable work and what is not. Zo, er zit een kracht achter. Ben jij zo sterk dat je jezelf kan optrekken op hem, of niet?
Oh yeah. It works. I remember there's this part in which he takes like our neck in between his arm and like he was squishing with so much force that we literally had to get the arm and stop him because like it was kind of choking, you know? He has a lot of energy, a lot.
Buikspieren.
Ja.
In het begin mag ik nog even bidden en proberen welke dingen nou makkelijk gaan en welke dingen nou niet makkelijk gaan.
And then here. Now this is the... It's warm today, eh?
Gelukkig heb je 4 mensen die je oppassen. Ja, ja.
Of je nou doof bent of moeilijk praten of moeilijk kan lopen. Gewoon welkom binnen Introdams.
We are dancing, we are lifting, we are turning, we are doing exactly the same. And that's for me the special thing of this project. There's no limitation.
1, 2, 3.
On stage there is no difference really. You just forget about who can do what physically and mentally, you know.
Vergeet niet Mathieu te duwen en dan vervolgens Giuseppe ook weg te duwen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bang. Ja, dit is het. Meer hoeft niet te zijn. Ja, if you could change so fast, it would be nice.
Het is een geweldige ervaring. Hierdoor heb ik gewoon echt heel veel nieuwe dingen ontdekt en uitgeprobeerd.
Juist.
Mooi.
Ja, turn him and jump.
The things that I would say to Adriaan at this point is like, keep on doing this because it's special. It's good for them and it's also good for us. It's a very good wake-up call and sometimes we need to be waking up a little bit.
Hello, my name is Nadine Mckenzie. I am a dancer, inclusive dance teacher, and the current artistic director of Unmute Dance Company based in Cape Town. My dancing started as a hobby when I was still in school. In grade 12, I went to watch a performance by another integrated company by the name of Remix Dance Company. And this is where my interest and love for integrated work started. And after watching this performance, I started attending classes by the company, later joined the training program and became one of the full-time dancers within the company. I now work with Unmute Dance Theatre that was co-founded by myself and 3 other colleagues in 2013. And we are an integrated dance company that work with artists with and without disabilities. And we run inclusive outreach programs and educational programs whereby we focus on integrating people with and without disabilities and bringing them to work together in one space.
Yeah, 29 yonali because something identi lantoza but ngensengi 19 okanye nge-29 yeah.
USA, United States, muso bethu kuyakude. So sizava kuzathiwa kufuna umavetana. Kufuna novetana no brownie. ke Martin, 10 rand ha. You now phone Martin. Hey, Bilas here. Hey, Bilas. The gallo uthe funa ukuthi umuntu wami nje. Hayi awukwazi ukuthi uphe bayizona.
Where are they? Where have they gone? Where are they hiding? Who have kept them hidden? How many are they? How will they get out? Get out. Come out. Kept away. Kept aside. Go that side. There is a ramp. Here it is not accessible. Access. What is access? The right, the opportunity to use or benefit from something? Well, that side, not here. Here it is not accessible. You need to be able, ability, disability, my ability is overlooked, denied, refused, again and again. Here we go again. Look. No, don't look. It's rude to stare, they say. Limitation, fear, restriction. These are all things people see when they look at me, look at my chair. It is what associates me with my chair. Me to my chair. Me with my disability. I become my disability. I have been made to be my disability. Again, here we go again. This is what society has been to me, my chair. We have been limited. We have been restricted. We have been restricted by this world that has been made for you, yet not for me. Sush, they say. Say thank you. Do I say thank you for managing to finally put in that lift in that building? Do I say thank you for that steep ramp that I struggled to get up to? Do I say thank you for putting it on the other side where I have to struggle to get to? Where I am not seen? It took a while for you to figure out that there is more of me, more of us. Sush, they say. Say thank you. But you see, if I have to be thankful about any of these, thankful for my right to access, to dignity, to humanity, then tell me, when will I ever be equal in this society?
It's my enormous privilege to be sitting here in a room with three of the most extraordinary artists who I count as friends, but also as these huge inspirations in terms of my own understanding around human rights, around the space of art and the confluence of art and human rights. It's quite hard to have a discussion after watching the incredible work that we've just watched, but I'm very happy to have a short moment just to connect these three artists and through our Artfluence festival, find a way to just negotiate an issue that's become very important to me around the notions of integrated arts and integrated practice. I'm interested also in the light of the last kind of surging of global issues around Black Lives Matter, for example, and the hashtag #MeToo movement, way in which activist politics has kind of really become embodied in terms of race and gender. What has in a way not been spoken about is the politics around disability and the notions of inclusion and how we think about citizenship and the notion of who we include in that way. And so I'm sitting here with three extraordinary artists and people that I also believe are activists who've made it their life work to fight for notions of inclusivity in terms of the art making. I'm sitting with Ondiege Matthew in Nairobi, Kenya, Adriaan Luteijn from Arnhem in the Netherlands, and Nadine Mckenzie from Cape Town, from South Africa. So the first kind of question or provocation that I'd like to pose to all of you is, you know, it's often as artists, we don't necessarily want to take on the mantle of being an activist. Or name ourselves as activists, because often it's simply the work that we do is the activism. And I'm wondering how you all think about that kind of connection or the confluence of the notion of an activist and an artist. And I wonder, Ondiege, can we start with you?
Great, thank you. And thank you so much to all of you, for having this opportunity. As an artist in my country, my work is also activism, let's say by default. This is because we're working in a country or in an environment that does not have the necessary structures, even for the practice itself, the practice of the art itself. And therefore, as an artist, you find yourself being addressed or directed towards wanting to address these socially not appropriate issues that do not support your work first, so that you can create an environment where the work can flourish. So by default, our work looks like it is appealing to the environment, it is appealing for new structures, it is looking for new laws that would support us, it is looking for new policies, but at the same time, we want to keep practicing. So we are sort of doing what the artists have to do, but at the same time, talking about how the artist has to be perceived, has to be respected, and how the artist has to be supported. So in this particular environment, we find ourselves in that situation of always campaigning, always preaching about how we need policies straight, how we need the environment to be, the structures to work for us. And in that, just by that, our work begins to address issues that concern people. And mostly, when people are not comfortable, the issue that concerns them most is an element of human rights. It is all about how they have been oppressed. It's all about how some people perceive them. It's all about how they don't have enough freedom to exercise their own, thoughts. And this therefore makes us have performances that have themes that are existential, themes that we will take back to our audiences. They will identify with that and they will stand with us. So we're sort of activists at two levels. One, we want to make sure that the work we are doing has the right and appropriate environment and policies around it. And at the same time, we want to make sure that other people around us also are not violated and their issues are our stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ondiege. Adriaan, can I go to you?
This whole question. First of all, I have to say I'm very happy to join this. Also, feel very honored that I was asked for this panel and to show my work in a festival about human rights, because I've never considered my work as a part of working for human rights. And here you got me exactly to the point when I read those questions that you were supposed to ask us in this meeting. Activism is in fact something that is quite far from what I'm thinking I am. I don't think that I'm an activist, but I feel at the moment, especially when there's a lot of discussion in Europe about inclusion, that people tend to put me to the front and say, like, here's a good example of somebody who is including or working on inclusion fields. So I think in a matter of speaking, I'm an activist, but not by calling it myself. And I think I even don't feel comfortable with being, would I be an activist? Because I would like to be involved in arts, and I would like to work on an inclusive arts sector in the Netherlands. And that's not, I think, a political matter. That's a matter of something that we just should do in a strange way. Maybe that's very Dutch to say, but I'm a doer. I'm not so much someone who's taking the stand and say, like, we should do it in this way, that way. I'm more a person who tries to open doors which are closed and then see what happens with audiences and etc.
Thank you so much, Adriaan. Nadine, what are your thoughts on this?
Hi, thank you for this platform and for having me. I have to also just echo what Adriaan and Ondiege has mentioned as well about not thinking that we're activists or for me, for the longest time, I never thought of myself as an activist as well. I just for the longest time, especially growing up, I just saw myself as a person, and of course, a person that lives with a disability. And so I don't think I fully understood all the labels and tags that comes with it, and also what that meant. And it was only in my adulthood that I started experiencing all these struggles. And through the work that we do, I think automatically, you know, I became an activist, not by choice, but it just happened because of the work that we do, and also because now you're in this space where you have a platform and automatically you have a voice to speak, whether it's through the work or through whatever other means. And so you kind of have that responsibility somehow to also speak out about these injustices or things that are not right, and things that are basic human rights. And so through the work, I think automatically I had to learn that I became an activist by whether or not I chose to be one. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting because if the issues around disability and inclusivity were more mainstreamed, we wouldn't actually even have this discussion. We would simply be artists who worked in a sphere which was inclusive. But the very question is an indication of the fact that there is so much silence and misunderstanding, and then often in situations some violence. So I'm also interested in, you know, dance is an interesting arena to start working in integrated practices, because dance has always historically been about this kind of perfect body, almost the body that nobody else has but a dancer. Spends 16 hours training every day, and it's sort of like the super body in a way. And yet we come to a practice which around inclusivity and around the films that you've made. I think on Diego, in the way that you just seamlessly include dancers with and without disabilities in your work. And I think of Adriaan in the way in which you also start to pair highly skilled dancers from Introdams with people living with disabilities in a way that takes a kind of neoclassical ballet form, which is the exact opposite of any kind of conceptualization around, you know, inclusivity. And I think of you, Nadine, who has worked in an environment where you have unrelentingly demanded, the most profound way that has influenced me so much, demanded acknowledgement and acceptance in that kind of space, and has really shifted consciousnesses around it. So I'm interested in how we use dance and why dance in a way. I mean, obviously it's the art form that we choose, but how has dance been this vehicle that has asked you to really reconceptualize the kind of integration of practice? And I'm going to jump to Ondiege again.
Okay, thank you. You know, I first of all started dancing, but not with a person's disability, or not even in a disability program. I was a dancer for about 15 years at the professional level without working with people with disability until about 2005. So you can also work the maths and see when I started. You know, and for me, it was really exciting to see a body with a difference being appreciated as also equally beautiful and you know, aesthetically good. And that is largely because I felt it is really a very comfortable place for so many people of us, like those of us who have come into dance late. You know, you begin to feel like I can fit because the ones with disability are there already. So this is an arena that is calling for me, irrespective of my age. Those of us who are coming in from different genres, they're not necessarily trained dancers, but they are very good actors, they're very good musicians or visual artists, and they can conceptualize something, they can work with these people. And so I found it as a very comfortable place to fit in, because then it gives me an opportunity to play with ideas. It's not just about the beauty of the physicality and the flexibility of the people who are not disabled, but it is also about the ideas around it, the stories that it comes with. And more so when we dig deeper into the issues of disability in Africa, in our context, it is laden with lots of stigma and taboo and superstition and cultural rights and myths and stereotypes. It is really a very heavy space for a creative person. There's a lot that informs you here, and then at the same time, it is very liberating to see how, as a choreographer, I'm working with people with disability, but I'm not just giving them dance. I'm giving them life. They are coming back, responding, saying, now my life has changed, maybe some income levels have changed for the person that I'm working with, and more so some social achievement, and pride has sort of come into the life of these people, and they're able to do things that they could not hitherto be able to do. And then to a greater picture, I'm seeing bringing in this constituency of artists with disability in a space that they were never seen. This is in the performing arts landscape of Kenya, that the only other chance that the marginalized community of people who are hitherto not seen within the landscape as practitioners have made an entry through dance. That was a very important statement for us here. And so I continue to get interested in this work, looking at the way eventually our work looks like interesting piece of art for choreographic purposes, but for the social angle, with a social eye, it is not just beautiful performance. It is stories, and the communities begin to realize that, hey, this can be part of the conversation that will make us mainstream, for example. This can be part of the efforts that will make us realize or actualize access, for example. This is part of the work that will make us give provision as government, because we're working also very closely with the government. Just recently, because of this lockdown, we were not able to take our ministry officials to watch our work in Siaya, but we had planned for that. We had rehearsed. They wanted to see, what's happening and how the artists in disability are coping under the pandemic, in the pandemic. And so this kind of relationships begin to make us feel relevant and therefore gain more recognition, not just as artists, but also elevate the dance practice, and at the same time elevate a community of people with disability and more issues that are congruent to us, that are like dear to us. This is a chance when we are creating original performances. We are actually not able to copy anybody's work with people with disability, because we don't tell them to watch anybody's video and do it. Most dancers do that. I mean, most dancers create choreographies by watching other people's videos. You don't do that in mixed ability. I mean, you must create from scratch. So this is a very beautiful space for us. And more so because at the policy level, we are able to influence policy. We are able to to have conversations with the people who like to mainstream disability issues, to mainstream access issues, to use it as an example to justify or even to demonstrate the bigger picture for law, for changes in law and changes at the county level. So this is the reason why I find it extremely beautiful and a beautiful space to work in.
Thank you so much, Ondiege. And also the work that you've just made, of course, also looks at the social taboos around disability. So also very profound, kind of visual sense of what you're saying. Yeah. Adriaan.
I so recognize that you're saying, Ondiege, about opening worlds, and probably Nadine has the same experiences. I mean, just the work that we're doing is for so many eyes, even in the Netherlands, what looks like a tolerant country and where everything is possible and everyone lives next to everyone. It still is opening eyes of audiences when my performances are shown. And about this whole body issue that you're talking about, I'm
as Ondiege, I started as a professional dancer, and in this contemporary ballet company I'm working for. Also for 10 years I worked professionally, but already from the beginning I was a sort of what we call a sort of outsider in the company, because I come from a very small provincial town where I was raised and born. I didn't do anything with the arts until I was 20, although I came from a progressive family, but there was just nothing close by. And I learned already from a very young age that I should live with everyone in that boring, shitty village I was living in, excuse my word. And I think that helped me coping with everything, and also seeing that there is also always a relation between me and the rest of the world, whatever I was doing. So when I was a dancer in the company, I was already curious what would happen if I would work with people like this or people like that, other communities. And that has only grown in all those times. And for me, there is nothing like the perfect body, because I've seen so many bodies in my performances, or watching other ones' performances. And I think all bodies are perfect for dance. It's just that we have to see how one works and how the other one works. But that's the same with the highly professional trained dancers of Introdams. I can make a beautiful solo with one, and the other one will end up like a disaster because it just doesn't work on her body or his body. And I mean, so the whole issue of what is perfect, or perfection, I think for me, that's very much on the background. I think everyone is perfect, as long as they want to dance. If they don't want to dance, that's not perfect for me. I don't make them dance also. It should come voluntarily.
Yeah. I mean, it is, I mean, for me also, what all three of you are doing is completely breaking the stereotypes and around who and what and should dance and how we can move. And I mean, I really resonate with the notion that all bodies are beautiful. All dancing bodies are beautiful. Thank you, Adriaan. Nadine.
I have to start off by saying that people are missing out. That doing integrated work is so amazing. I mean, with our experiences with working with different bodies, there's always something exciting or something new that comes up, and you work with a group of people and you learn something new all the time. And I mean, we've worked with so many different people, and for me, being in a wheelchair and seeing someone else in a wheelchair doing something and going, that's cool. I never actually thought of doing it that way. So that is what is so exciting about working in this way. It's that we are so different, and with that difference, we can achieve so many amazing things. I'm just thinking about when I first started dancing, the idea of performing or dancing terrified me so much. And I looked at my teacher when she said to me, I think you should go to the dance classes in the hall. And I looked at her and I asked, dance classes, what do you mean? And for me, I never thought that someone with a disability could dance or could be a performer. And so this is where I started to learn that actually you can dance, whether you're in a wheelchair or whether you are blind, you can be a performer.
But you didn't have an example as a child, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And the first time for me, when I saw an integrated piece by another company I worked with before, the gentleman that was in a wheelchair that was part of the production, I was watching the performance, and I remember at some point during the performance, I stopped realizing that he was in a chair. And for me, that is what integrated work is about, is when you stop seeing the disabled body and you start seeing a performer on stage. I think that is what integration is about, is when you stop seeing the disability of the person and you start recognizing the person for who they are and for what they can do. Yeah.
I mean, it's for me also the discussion, around the inclusive arts, as you say, Nadine, has always been about, the terrible concern that we all have when you see someone with a disability coming from all the prejudices in our societies to go, oh, how nice that they too are included, to the shift with this kind of very intense kind of, in a way, human rights practice, which is about seeing a body and a human being and saying, wow. And I also have to say, Nadine, that you are one of my most favorite dancers in South Africa at the moment, and you always have been. So I've been very privileged to work with you. So, your spirit is also incredible and what you do. So my last little kind of maybe closing to all of you as a panel is that I'm also very interested in issues around, not just human rights, but also citizenship. Like, what does it mean to be considered a citizen, not just of our countries and our smaller borders, but in a way, most of you have already answered this, but citizens that occupy the right to be artists in all kind of spheres. So I'm interested in how you link your work to the notion of citizenship. Ondiege.
Okay, thank you again. Just before I talk about that briefly, I'd like to sort of add something small, what I've just noted from Nadine. At the company level, it's very interesting to see how you stop seeing the disability when you work with dancers with disability, and even as a choreographer who is out of the production, you really stop seeing the difference. But again, when I take it further, it goes into the company level, so that everybody is not just responsible in the dance floor, but also even outside in terms of keeping the organization, keeping the group going, doing errands, doing logistics. We stop seeing the disability. For example, when in the past we had to travel, for example, and we have to get passports. In government offices, people with disability don't queue. They don't follow in the line. So for us to be able to jump the line, we send the guy with disability. So yeah, we're like, hey, let's use what we have. Let's take advantage of this. This is the ability that we have, the ability to make sure that the people with disability are the ones who are responsible. They'll run the errands, they'll make the decisions, they will do the management, and things will be smooth. It is a challenge to them. It is empowering them as artists, but at the same time, it is good for the company. So I stopped seeing the disability not just in the dance floor, but away from the dance space also. Yeah, the issue of citizenship. I think, first of all, as an artist and as an activist, I am conscious of what my constitution says. And my constitution, which was promulgated in 2010, after me included, worked very hard, however very small, without being noticed, or sometimes being beaten by police because we're demonstrating, because we're talking about change the constitution from early in the 90s. We were talking about repeal repeal the presidential powers, section 2A, reduction presidential powers, and independence of the judiciary. And most of all, when the constitution was promulgated, what came first was the citizenship, and that is the first article of the constitution. It's all about the sovereignty of the Kenyans, and that sovereignty is in the citizen, so that we are more important than our leaders, that the citizen is the foremost important person that the constitution recognizes. The sovereignty of the country is in the citizen, and therefore we as artists and activists recognize ourselves as Kenyans first, and we are called to duty as any other Kenyan, as any other citizen, any other patriotic citizen, to defend this country, to defend the constitution, to uphold it, to articulate it for those who cannot understand it. And therefore, going by that, we have a right to be artists in our country, and the artists have a right to speak, because the artist is the person who has the voice that will influence the others positively. So I cannot let my country down as a citizen. The constitution recognizes my sovereignty, and I must play my role as an artist who is the leader, who has to steer the citizens towards understanding better, everything else. And that's the role of the artist for me.
So profound, so profound. Thank you so much, Ondiege. Adriaan.
Yeah, I fully agree with this. Although I really admire your beautiful words about this, how you say this, and I think I'm so far away from this idea of being a Dutch citizen, really, I must say, but I do understand also that the work that we are doing is an example for the citizens, for people around us watching it, considering the position of people anywhere in the community and being part of it or not being a part of it. So I'm aware of the fact that we are an example. And I have to add also something about this, because we're talking a lot about disabilities. And in fact, the piece that I sent in is one of my latest pieces, and that is about a dancer with cerebral palsy. But I also must say that, in fact, that is not my specialism, abilities or disabilities. I'm working, in fact, very wide as a choreographer, and I'm always on the search for new communities, either it be in the gender or sexuality or in age or female, male, body, etc. It's wide, different minds, and I'm not focusing only on this, because I think that working in the disabled community is just one part of what I should express with the company and the audience that I'm showing. And each time I confront them, because I know I'm known also as a choreographer who works so nicely with people with disabilities, but I always try to surprise them. So this year I work with different bodies, for instance, about body positivity and not necessarily something with disability. And I also worked with Olympic sporters, or I worked with people from a very different communities than the dancers, whatever that might be.
I mean, for me also, in a way, Adriaan, you just exemplify the notion of inclusivity. And I mean, for me, that is a kind of global notion of citizenship as well.
True.
Is that
True.
the idea of forgotten communities, or communities that don't always access their artistic expression.
True.
Beautiful. Nadine.
I would like to share a quote I found, I think sometime last year, and I think it speaks so profoundly about citizenship and how we include people. And the quote is something along the lines of us being in a space and recognizing who is not in that space, and then working towards bringing those people that are not in that space to be in that space with us as well. And I think, to me, that is what inclusion is about. And that is what humanity is as well, I think, or should be. It's to recognize who is not there, and then taking those steps and finding ways of how we can make that space open for everybody to be part of it. Yeah.
I mean, in a way, that's the most profound kind of note to what we're discussing, is that beautiful concept of who's not in the room. And as I said at the beginning, I'm interested in our kind of the global zeitgeist, which, you know, has really brought gender issues more to the fore, and also race issues, but also the kind of ongoing silence around inclusivity, disability, and noticing who's not in the room. So I'm going to end it there, just to say my deepest thanks from the Centre for Creative Art and from the Artfluence Festival. It's our inaugural festival, and we just are incredibly delighted to have artists of your stature and of your feeling and depth to share your work with us. So I'd like to say thank you very much to all of you for being here and for so graciously sharing your work. Thank you, everyone, and good night.